So I think the reason so many people are starting video podcasts today is just simply because they can take advantage of what's known as a content pyramid. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Caleb King. Welcome back to the People in Tech podcast. This is my weekly show. And this is a show where I get in front of the camera, get in front of the microphone, and I just tell you what's happening in tech and the business world and give you my insights. And today we're talking about why is everybody starting a podcast. Everybody and their mama starting a podcast. If you guys don't know me personally, thanks for supporting me. Make sure to hit that subscribe button below. This whole content journey for me, it all started with the podcast. So like this one's kind of near dear to my heart. The People in Tech podcast started in 2018. And the reason it started was shout out to my boy Jordan and shout out to Gary Vee if you ever watch this video, where they more or less promoted Anchor FM to me. They were like, hey, the issue with podcasting back in 2018, 2017 was getting on these different platforms because they all had their different rules. Anchor came out, they're like, we will take care of all the publishing. You just got to make content and you don't even need a microphone. You don't need a camera. You just need your iPhone. And that's more or less how I started. Fast forward a few years, People in Tech is a top tech podcast on Anchor. Whoop, whoop. Happy about that. But then I made the typical content creator mistake, trying to do way too much, way too soon, and not really focusing on what was the bread and butter, content. And fast forward to today, that's why we're doing the show now. But I think one of the reasons so many people are making video podcasts is just because of the ease of use. Just because of how easy it is to get started in podcasting. Like I said before, video, microphone, hit record, talk. Now, if you go back to some of my old episodes, I was very stuck, Bobby, how did you get into the tech world, and tell me about your college experience? And it's like a whole bunch of shit that like none of y'all really cared about. Sorry, that was like a real bad impression of myself. Bear with me. But a lot of my older stuff, I was real stiff, but as I got better, the conversations were just conversational, easy. And I was actually coming from a place of curiosity. One of my favorite podcast episodes on this show was my interview with Warren from Knowable. So if you guys don't know what Knowable is, instead of like watching videos to learn how to do something, you would listen to audio to learn how to do something. That was one of my favorite podcast episodes because it was just real easy. Having a conversation with Warren, and I'm coming from a place of like, yo, I want to do my own startup. How do you do it, man? Like you come from an investment banking background. How did you get funding? How did you do certain things? And those are the type of questions that I asked that other people cared about. And that's why it's one of the most downloaded episodes I've had till this date. The crazy thing about video podcasts is content creators who have done everything and anything to get views, to get their click-through rates up through the roof, to get all their metrics to 10x, to make more money and make more profit. It's a lot of work. And in a world where you want to do more with less, doing a podcast is so easy because one, it's easy to do, but two, it gives you this personal touch. So I'm going through YouTube Shorts and I see one of my favorite creators, T-Jazz, who's a basketball person, talking about maybe I should go to college, but I will only go if a college head coach let me film everything. I'm more like a multi-million-dollar business doing YouTube, which I 100% believe. And I would love if I could watch him go play college ball, because I didn't realize how young he was, but he's probably still young enough to go play college ball somewhere, and then film the whole thing, because I was never a college athlete. I want to see what that's like. That to me was crazy because it caught my attention. Dude, he does basketball content. Why is he doing a podcast? And that little piece was a behind the scenes, a personal aspect, which again made me tune into his podcast. Let's use another example. You guys might know Logan Paul and Jake Paul, the greatest boxers out there, right? Jake Paul just lost his latest fight. Some of you might have tuned in, some of you didn't, some of you just saw it on Instagram. Regardless, the podcast is where you would go to hear his side of the story, his side of the fight. Even though you didn't watch the fight, you're kind of oh, what did Jake Paul say? Why did you lose? Oh, he didn't really lose. And you're sitting there these content creators who I've loved from the Vine days, moving on to Musical.ly, and then into TikTok, and now into today. The reason they're doing podcasts, it's easier for them than ever because they're just getting with their buddies. They just get in front of a camera and then just start talking and it's entertaining. The whole YouTube algorithm is based off getting you to watch as much as possible. And when you click on a video, your thumbnail is ooh, I convince you to watch a video. But if I can convince you to watch a whole episode, that means I can run more ads. I'm a tech-focused educator. So all my ads are probably going to be more tech-focused, coding and programming and things like that. You go to somebody who's more like entertainment-based, they're going to talk about more things, maybe to advertise like a certain drink or clothing or whatever the case is. But the more I can get you to watch the video, the better it is for YouTube. And the other thing that's hard about making somebody watch 20, 30 minutes of something like really intense, like a TV show, it takes time. Let me give you an example. I loved Westworld for the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then I just couldn't watch it because the amount of mental struggle and mental capacity I needed to pay attention for an hour, I just didn't have, y'all. I got bored, I fell asleep, I was like Westworld was not my show, and I really wanted it to be my show. But you watch a podcast, you can put that on in the background and you're still paying attention, but you can multitask. That's another reason people love it, is you can sit here and you can do multiple things, but you're still watching the video. You're still getting hit with ads. But for me, I love Pat Bev. Pat Bev, he went on ESPN for a few episodes, then he turned that into a podcast, and now I really think this man has a whole second career lined up for him. Other basketball athletes like Draymond Green has a show, which I don't care about, but you sit there and you're like, man, everybody's really starting a show because it helps you give behind the scenes of what they're doing, but it's low stake. If I don't like it, I can just go to another show. If I want to be more educational, I'll go to a more educational show like this one. So I think one of the reasons people are doing it is it's very easy to convert. And then lastly, let's dive into the content pyramid. Alex Hormozi, Grant Cardone, all these famous influencers, they're going to tell you the way they started making content is they do what's called batching. Now, me personally, I'm 9 to 5. I don't do any content creation during my job because I take my job seriously. And one thing I did this year is bring in an editor because I just can't edit. That's why if you look at my recent schedule, I wasn't publishing because I just didn't have the time. Now I have an editor, fingers crossed that goes smoothly. But more or less, I get in front of a camera, I record, I talk my talk, hand it over, and then boom, I'm done. You plan out all your content. You film for an hour, 2 hours, you change your jackets. Look, I can... different backgrounds, make it look like they're in different situations. I've literally seen content creators sit one way, turn the other way, turn back. You get the point. So once you get that 2 hours of content, you can then break it into segments. So the one company that does this better than anybody, in my opinion, is ESPN. You have an episode like First Take, hour and a half episode. Take that hour and a half episode. Every segment is a 5 to 10 minute segment. They can take that segment and probably get 2 videos out of each segment. If it's an argument, if it's something hot, something viral, those are the reels, those are the TikToks. Then it can turn into a blog post. It can turn into quotes. It can say JJ Redick said this about Kendrick Perkins in quotes, and then of course it's out of context, but then you post on Instagram, but then trigger people, and then the cycle. So I think that's another reason people get into video podcasting. And then really just the last thing I have to highlight, guys, is to growing on-demand popularity. Like I said earlier, I grew up with Smallville, Power Rangers, shows where you had to tune in weekly. But fast forward to today, everything's on demand. You go on Netflix, you watch the whole thing, and now Netflix is even adapting. You guys have seen it. They don't drop a whole season. They drop part 1 and part 2. That way it's in the news and it's being talked about more, and people on podcasts are talking about it even longer. It's this whole on-demand content that's really changing. And then really I just feel podcasting from a business standpoint makes sense because you can promote multiple products in a podcast. So that's really all I got for you guys. I think you're gonna see more people putting out video podcasts. YouTube just released a feature where you can start a video podcast, start a Spotify podcast, and so much more. Hope you enjoyed this content. That's all I got for you. Make sure you give this video, leave a comment below, and that's all I got. Tech out.